Thank you, Mr. Scott. I'd now like to recognize my friend, Mr. Burlison from Missouri, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I thought this situation was crazy before I ever came to Washington, D.C., and now that I'm here, I think it's even more. It's just the height of lunacy for a nation to basically commit suicide in the way that we're doing so with our border situation and being a welfare state. Milton Friedman, the famous economist, said it's just obvious that you cannot have a free border state and a welfare state. It's just obvious to anyone who understands math. And yet here we are at a situation in which I'm asking the question, who benefits? Who benefits? Why in the world would any political party or any president of the United States decide, let's open up the borders, right? Because especially from your testimony, we hear the impact on uneducated, lower wage workers, that now that they're being crowded out by immigrants, okay? Not only that, but we have our schools that are being overrun in many parts of the nation. We have our centers who normally provide care and access for the homeless populations are now, the homeless Americans, many of them are vets, are being displaced by people that are coming here illegally. In addition, we also know that the impact on our healthcare system is enormous. And so because we have EMTALA laws, no one can be turned away. And so why in the world, this begs the question, why would anyone have the political lunacy to take on this public policy? What is the self-interest here? Dr. Camarota, I see you laughing. What do you think?
Oh, it's a complicated question. I don't doubt the sincerity, right? I mean, for progressives, they see desperate people fleeing desperate circumstances, and I think that is to their credit, but they do not consider the consequence of saying, well, if you arrive at the border, we'll let you in. If you use this app, we'll let you in. They don't appreciate the impact on American workers or the fiscal impact of doing that. But I do think their motives probably are off it. Now, sometimes you could say, well, maybe it's political. They're hoping for votes. I don't think that's what's happening. I also think that obviously corporate America, which is aligned with progressives on this issue, that more immigration is always better, lower wages are better. You know, it's that kind of perspective.
And that's what I can't get my brain wrapped around, that if you were the champion of the working man or the forgotten man, to use a political term, if you were the champion of those people, why in the hell would you flood the nation with competition to those individuals and drive down their wages? We talk about increasing minimum wage laws like it's some lofty idea, but at the end of the day, you're not going to do that if you keep flooding the market with cheap labor, right?
Right. I mean, look, you could make an argument that we need to do more to enforce fair labor standards. That seems like a good idea to me, but it's a little bit of a non sequitur because you're still avoiding the fundamental increase in the supply of workers and this enormous problem of these people who don't show up as unemployed but are working age and doing nothing.
So back home, you've got people that are I would say lower wage labor, right? They might be doing oil changes. They might be doing tire rotations. They may be working at a restaurant. This is the forgotten man, and they're the ones that are asking the question, why am I paying for some of the benefits that these illegal immigrants are receiving? Can you elaborate from the moment that, because I went to the border and I saw it firsthand as well, from the moment they get here, what are the different welfare benefits and aid that are provided, and what's the dollar amounts associated?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have great dollar amounts. Obviously, you have all these immediate and emergency care, whether it's housing or immediate health care, that obviously runs into the millions. Immigrants, including illegal immigrants, are not supposed to be using these programs unless they get asylum or they're refugees. Then they get access immediately.
But they're fast-tracking everyone on asylum.
Right. So what happens is, if we look at the actual data, like the survey of income and program participation, and look at non-citizen-headed households, yes, their use rates, over half of them access one of the major welfare programs. But what often happens is they get benefits on behalf of their U.S.-born children, or they fall into one of the other categories. So I don't think it's it's fair to say that people come for welfare, and yet it is true that, not surprisingly, immigrants with modest levels of education, not because they're lazy, but because they have low incomes, they have U.S.-born children, they make very extensive use of those programs. It's not a conspiracy, they just do. And there's no way to have lots of unskilled immigrants come in and not end up with a significant burden on taxpayers.
Well, and I think that you've been very reasonable today. We don't agree on everything, but I think we can agree that Milton Friedman was probably right when he said that you cannot possibly have an open borders nation and a welfare state.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.